Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Aliyah.
And I'm John Jackson, and this is the Man Cave. Today we have a special treat for all our viewers. We are going to be talking the NHL today and the playoffs, but we have our correspondent Ethan from Missouri right now to talk to us about the atmosphere of Missouri hockey.
Yeah, how
the
you
St.
doing,
Louis
Ethan?
Blues. Hello Ethan, how are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Not bad here in New York. We're still getting over some rain, but weather's getting better. There's the sun in the sky, clouds are parting, and the NHL playoffs are nearing the championship. So, how do you guys feel over there in Missouri?
Oh man, I think that this year especially with the St. Louis Blues, the St. Louis Blues have been really, really special this year to the city of St. Louis because if you guys know the NHL, and if you guys have been following hockey, the Blues have always been able to put together a great regular season, and then come playoff time, they're normally one and done. And it's been huge out here, especially the fan base is just huge. Everyone's going nuts. Campus is always buzzing. You see a lot of Blues jerseys around campus, all that. And I don't know if you guys knew this though, but the Blues came into the league in 1967. And they came in with the first wave of expansion teams, and they're the only team left in that first wave of expansion to never win the Stanley Cup. So this year is something special.
That's incredible. And it's great because that was the real conversation coming into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Will this team be able to advance by, and will their management, last past the season if they can't win? But I want to start off with yesterday's game where they were shut out at home. This is actually the first time they were shut out at home since 2001, the 2001 playoffs. In the playoffs.
Yeah, no, obviously that would be a little crazy if it was.
Does that honestly that ties up the series with San Jose, one game apiece. They won the first game 2-1. Does that have an impact on the team in general, just getting shut out at home?
Hello?
I'll answer that question. Yes, it does, because now you have two games. Now you have two games on the road in San Jose, and you just got shut out at home. Now listen, one of the best players on that team has been Brian Elliott. We're actually trying to get him back on the phone right now if you hear ringing. Brian Elliott, the goaltender.
You back, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm back now. I think the connection's kind of dropped there, but yeah. As I was saying, I think that the Blues this year have shown that they can play under pressure. The playoffs especially, they've made it past 2 Game 7s. And there were times in the playoffs where they looked great, and there were times in the playoffs where they've looked absolutely terrible, like they did last night.
Last night, yeah.
I could definitely say that this Blues team is definitely good to play under pressure. And you could definitely make the argument that Brian Elliott's been the best goaltender in the playoffs out of all the teams that made the playoffs. Brian Elliott's been the best goaltender out of all of them, and I think that they're very good at playing under pressure. They got a pretty good defense. The offense can score, especially when they're under pressure. Like I said before, all 4 lines contribute, and guys like the STL line with Jaden Schwartz, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Yuri Patera is a big one, and even the 4th line of Ryan Reeves, Steve Ott, and Scotty Upshaw. They're the ability enforcers. They're the guys that like to get on them and like to hit and like to be aggressive. And even the lines with Robbie Fabry, Troy Bauer, and Paul Stastny is a great line as well. And I think you guys can probably agree with me here too. Is that I think that if there is a Blues team that can win the Stanley Cup, and if there's a Blues team that can go far, it's got to be this team for this year.
I think it has to be this team because Brian Elliott was not supposed to be this star goaltender that performs this well in the playoffs, and he's really worked into the role that you just said, where he's probably the best goaltender right now in the playoffs. So I think this is absolutely the team that needs to go all the way. But they're going to have to get through a monster of San Jose, and San Jose's offense, and even their goaltender Martin Jones, who's been, he's been overperforming himself.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that one thing about San Jose that I got to bring up is that San Jose is hot. They're got all the momentum on their side, especially from last night, and even in the series before when they played, Nashville. And I think that a big thing that has to do with it is that, the Blues, they won game 1 2-1. But you can make the argument that San Jose outplayed them. San Jose, I think, outshot them by, 15. And if you can't have that.
Well, in order to keep that game, Brian Elliott had to make 31 saves, so it just says a lot about the shooting.
Right, and, when you have a goaltender like Brian Elliott, you probably have a little bit more wiggle room to make a mistake here or there or something like that. But then again, you never really do want to make a mistake. But as good as Brian Elliott, as well as he's been playing, and, because I don't think any of us saw that Brian Elliott was going to be the best goalie in the playoffs. Because in reality, though, out of all the teams that made the NHL playoffs, you go back to the first round, out of all the teams that made the playoffs, you could honestly make the argument that Brian Elliott's been the best one out of all of them. So,
yeah, and
it's a big deal.
Ethan, I have one more question before we talk some baseball. Weren't you at one of these St. Louis Blues playoff games?
Excuse me?
Weren't you at one of these playoff games for the St. Louis Blues?
I was at game 2 of the first round against Chicago.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh man, it's nuts. It was nuts. I tagged you guys in a post on Facebook about the Blues. I don't know if you saw yet though, but they have their hype video before the game starts, and it's you see two. What's really cool is that they have their own show on the ice, or they have the ice shows all pictures of Blues history and all that. And then what was really cool for me is that the lights go dim, and then they show a little kid and his father at the playground, and the kid is on a swing set, and he starts singing. Now when the Blues go marching in, and he starts singing that, and then his dad starts joining in, and then people around St. Louis start joining in. A runner from St. Louis starts joining in, a waitress, barbershop, the symphony starts joining in, and then artists starts joining. Then waitress starts joining in, barbershop, symphony people, and even blue collar workers start joining in. And it's really cool because then the whole crowd is clapping to the beat. And the whole place is going, now when the Blues go marching in, they're all singing. And it was awesome, especially in the playoffs, that everyone's out there waving their towels, I still have my towels from the game. It's hanging up in my room right now, but whole place is waving their towels. It was going crazy. Although they lost, it was still going crazy. And, being from New York and all, I had never been to a Rangers playoff game or a playoff game in New York. But I've been to plenty of regular season games where the Rangers are always, hyped and all that, though. And not saying that St. Louis hockey's better than New York hockey, but I'll tell you what, come playoff time, though, man, Scott Trade was rocking. And it was one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever experienced, so, for sure.
It sounds incredible over there because over here where you really look at that team and you could sense how much they want it just based on the struggles that they've had to endure. There's nothing worse than a good team not living up to their potential. On the flip side, over on the East, we have Pittsburgh right now also tied with Tampa Bay 1-1 in the series because Pittsburgh just beat Tampa Bay in overtime a couple days ago, 3-2. It was Crosby with the overtime winner after losing, of course, to Tampa Bay 3-1. So that's got to be a big momentum shifter because they were clearly outplayed in game 1, and they just looked revitalized come game 2.
Yeah, they were, and I think definitely with Ben Bishop going down, that had to have scared Tampa. Tampa's got to be playing on their toes now because, not saying Vasilevsky, the backup goaltender, is bad. He's actually pretty good, but I think that.
But he's not Ben Bishop.
This is a series of the backup goaltenders where Fleury's not playing and Bishop's hurt to the point where.
This is the Stanley Cup playoffs of the backup goaltenders because how many starting goaltenders were there in this entire Stanley Cup playoffs? I'd say only half were actually starters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's incredible. And Ben Bishop hurts.
Ben Bishop, was injured. He came back and he fell on his leg to the point where it just looked gruesome. It looked bad to the point where he couldn't put any weight on him. They had to carry him off. They had to carry him off the ice on a stretcher. But other than that, though, Tampa won the first game. That was huge for them. But then Pittsburgh winning in overtime, that was a huge momentum shifter. They're going to go back to Tampa, which is a very, very tough place to play. But, I think Pittsburgh's got the momentum on their side now. And Pittsburgh was the hottest team in the NHL coming into the playoffs, especially. And, of course, the last game, especially with, Sidney Crosby scoring the game winner. I mean, come on. I mean, what else was new with Crosby scoring the game winner?
Well, listen, they absolutely needed to salvage that second game at home because you are going to Tampa Bay. It is a tough place to play, and you can't go to Tampa Bay down two games to nothing in a series. It's just you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was very important, and I thought, of course, who else would do it? It would be Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, exactly.
John has a question.
Yeah, Ethan, we just want to flip the script now to some baseball. In our last show, me and Raphael gave our player of the weeks. I said DeMar DeRozan, Raphael said Danny Valencia, and then we also said your pick too, Stephen Piscotty. And me and Raphael, we had some choice words and we questioned your decision, but this is your chance now to
defend myself?
Yeah, defend yourself. I'm just going to read his stats off. He's in the last week, 6 for 24, batting .250 after going 0 for 4 last night. 4 runs, no home runs, and 2 RBIs. Now it's off to you. Defend yourself, Ethan.
I will defend myself here. Stephen Piscotty, you guys being up there from New York, you guys are getting to be exposed to these Cardinals and all that. What I do out here is that, when the Cardinals are playing, I watched all the Cardinals games, of course, and, I did my homework and picked up Stephen Piscotty in fantasy about a month ago, and what Stephen Piscotty does to this Cardinals lineup is something special. I mean, he has, I think, like a 10-game hitting streak, so that with these extra last night, of course, though. But he just hits, and he makes these little plays that matter a lot, because he gets on base, and he sets the tone a lot for this Cardinals team. He's out there in right field, making such great defensive plays, and he's just so good when it comes to, running down fly balls, and he's arguably the best hitter on that team when he's capable of getting on base, and he provides a spark in that Cardinals lineup that they really need, because if you know baseball right now, the Cardinals are playing. They're not really playing very well. And Stephen Piscotty is the one player that I think they can fall back on and say, if he can get on base and do well, then it's our turn to start following in his footsteps. And I think that what Stephen Piscotty is doing right now, there was a report set of service in the Post-Dispatch, which is the number one newspaper in St. Louis. There have been reports that service in the Post-Dispatch, even a lot of fantasy writers and a lot of baseball writers say that Stephen Piscotty, if he keeps this up, he could be the Cardinals' next Matt Holliday. So I think that definitely Stephen Piscotty is something very, very special to the St. Louis Cardinals lineup, and something that you're going to have to keep your eye on. And also, I mean, he's a smart guy too. No doubt about that. He has a degree from Stanford University, and I think atmospheric science, like atmospheric engineering or something like that. So clearly, if baseball doesn't work out for him, Stephen Piscotty's got something to fall back on too. So clearly, I think Stephen Piscotty is a special player for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he provides a vital spark that they need in their starting lineup.
Okay, so Ethan, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that he's a good player, which he is. I checked his stats for the whole season. He's overperforming. Nobody thought he would, be this good over the course of the season. But with Player of the Week, we're just looking literally from last Wednesday to this Wednesday. So, and he performed.
That kind of got me there, though. I just think that you guys might have got me there, and you can make the argument for that, but too, which I understand. But I just think that what he's been doing this whole season for those two, even
no, but I understand what you're trying to do. You're using this as your venue to bring him to light because you feel he's not getting the attention.
Yeah, he's very underrated.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, coming into this season, guys, did you guys know who Stephen Piscotty was?
Yeah, I've heard the name before. No, and I've known he was like a bench player or something.
He's a starter, and you guys could argue. I mean, you guys didn't see Piscotty doing this good, but I am a Cardinals fan too, and I remember last year they brought him up and he was hitting really well, and then even in this year, he was doing well, and he was floating around in free agency and fantasy. And I just grabbed him all of a sudden. He's been doing pretty well for me. That's why I think, guys, not to brag or anything, but all 3 of my starting pitchers last night got wins. I had Bumgarner got a win, Griffey got a win, and Ventura got a win. So
no, you could brag.
So watch out, Raphael.
Watch out, Raphael, that's what he says. So we completely disagree with the choice for naming him Player of the Week, but he's definitely an underrated player
and he's a
who's
player to
overperformed.
watch.
Yeah, he's a player to watch.
So listen, if you did anything, you drew our attention to it, so we'll definitely watch out for that. I'll watch out for you in fantasy because I just noticed that you're in second place.
If it's not player of the week, would you guys make a case for Steven Piscotty? Could he, for baseball, do you think he deserves player of the month?
No.
Probably.
Not the month. I think he's an underrated player who's overperforming, who's doing extremely well for what everybody expected, but not player of the month. Not the month, not the year. But no, we understand. He's somebody that if you asked 100 baseball fans, maybe only 20 of them, or even 10 would know who he is.
And I'm still looking at you in fantasy. You just moved into second, which is exciting because I'm glad to have the competition, even though you're 14 points behind me.
I'm gonna tailspin. I'm like, what am I, in 6th or 7th now?
You're in 6th.
John, what happened, man? What's going on?
Dude, it's just not working out for me. Too many moves. I'm overactive.
You make like 3 moves a day and you're still way down there.
He's not exaggerating. But
He's not exaggerating.
that's all we have for today's show. Thank you so much, Ethan, for calling in from Missouri.
And we definitely want to hear from you if, somehow the St. Louis Blues could actually make the Stanley Cup. We definitely want to hear a reaction from over there.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If they make the Stanley Cup, yeah, I mean, I'll give you guys a call. Just let me know.
All right, man. Thank you.
So for Ethan Illers, John Jackson,
and Rafael Elia,
this has been the Man Cave.